You have probably held a coin between your fingers and noticed that some coins feel smooth around the edge, while others have fine ridges, like tiny grooves cut all the way around. Most people assume those ridges are just decorative, or that they exist mainly to help you grip the coin. But that assumption is incomplete, because the original reason was a practical security feature tied to how coins used to be made and what they were made of. Why would the edge of a coin be a target for fraud in the first place? How do ridges make tampering easier to notice? And if modern coins are not solid gold or silver, why do some of them still keep the ridged edge today? This becomes clear once you understand coin clipping and why the edge is the easiest place to steal value. The key misconception is that coin ridges were invented mainly for convenience, like grip or style. Those benefits exist, but the central historical purpose was to prevent coin clipping, also called shaving. When coins were made from precious metal, their value was closely tied to their weight. If a coin's edge was smooth, a dishonest person could shave off a thin ring of metal, keep the valuable shavings, and still spend the coin as if it were full value. Over many coins, those tiny shavings add up. The problem is not that one clipped coin ruins the system, but that many slightly underweight coins, circulating together, gradually reduce trust in the currency. Reading was introduced to make that kind of shaving immediately visible, because clipping destroys the regular pattern on the edge. Now the mechanism is straightforward. The cause is that a coin made of gold or silver can be harvested at the edges without obviously changing its face design. The process is that shaving removes a thin amount of metal from the rim, which is hard to spot if the edge is plain and the coin is already somewhat worn. The result is a coin that looks normal at a glance, but is lighter than it should be, and therefore quietly steals value from everyone who accepts it. This is exactly the kind of fraud that reeded edges target, not by making clipping impossible, but by making it hard to hide. It helps to picture what clipping looks like. In historical finds, clipped pieces can look like tiny curved slivers, the sort of fragments you could gather from many coins. Seeing those fragments makes the motive concrete. The edge is a convenient place to remove metal without re-engraving the whole coin. Reading changes the inspection problem. A smooth edge is visually ambiguous. A slightly smaller diameter could be wear, damage, or deliberate shaving. A reeded edge is a repeating pattern. If the pattern is interrupted or flattened, the damage becomes obvious, even to someone who is not weighing coins. In other words, reading is a built-in tamper-evident system. It is the same logic used in many modern safety seals. You do not need to stop every attempt. You need to make attempts detectable. There is also a manufacturing side to this. Once coin minting shifted toward machine-struck coins with more consistent shapes, it became easier to standardize edges as well. Edge treatments could be applied uniformly, so that normal had a clear meaning. Historically, this was part of a broader move toward regularizing coinage, when older hammered coins were irregular and easier to tamper with. The transition to milled coinage and standardized edges is one reason clipping became much harder to carry out unnoticed. If you want an intuitive modern way to see what reeded means, a close-up photo of a coin edge shows the effect clearly. Many small grooves in a tight, regular pattern. That regularity is the point, because it creates a visible standard that damage can be compared against. A second misconception is that reading exists only for anti-fraud. and has no purpose now that many coins are base metal or clad layers. In reality, designs persist because they solve multiple problems at once. Even in modern currency, a patterned edge can help with machine handling and detection. Because coin counting and vending systems rely on repeatable physical properties like diameter, thickness, and sometimes edge characteristics. And in daily use, ridged edges can help people distinguish denominations by touch when coins are similar in size, even if that was not the original purpose. The design survives because it remains useful in a system where coins must be recognized quickly and reliably. There are also important exceptions that show this is a design choice, not a law of nature. Not all coins have reeded edges. Some are smooth, and some use lettering or other patterns on the edge. The point is always the same. The edge is a place where mints can add a feature that is hard to copy perfectly and easy to inspect, whether the goal is tamper-evidence, anti-counterfeiting, denomination identification, or simple standardization. You may also hear a simplified claim that Isaac Newton invented ridged edges. The careful version is that Newton, during his work with the Royal Mint, is strongly associated with reforms aimed at stopping clipping and improving coin quality, and reading is often linked to that period in popular accounts. But the broader historical picture is that edge milling and machine-struck coinage developed across Europe over time, with multiple inventors and mints contributing. What matters for understanding is not one name, but the underlying problem. When coin value depends on metal weight, the edge becomes a target, and the edge pattern becomes a defense. So the main idea is simple. Coins have ridges, because ridged edges are a tamper-evident signal. They make it obvious if someone has shaved metal off the rim, which was a real and persistent form of fraud when coins were made from precious metals. Even today, the same feature remains useful for standardization, handling, and recognition, so it persists beyond its original economic context. This understanding matters in everyday life because it turns a small design detail into an example of how systems protect trust. Money works when people can accept it without constantly verifying it. A ridged edge is a quiet way to reduce doubt, discourage tampering, and make a common object easier to use at speed. Many good designs are like this. They do not demand your attention, but they quietly prevent confusion.